In this video, I'm going to talk about NVDs, night vision devices, also IRs and thermals. I'm not going to be recommending a particular company or a particular model. What I'm going to give you an idea on is who should get them. Now, first off, pre-conflict, I do recommend you get some for your units. The ones that can afford them should get a hold of them. Now, night vision typically will cost between, say, around $1,500 to about $2,500, depending on the model, what generation it is, how good the resolution and all that is on it, how far out it can see and everything. So that's going to be very up there in price. IRs or infrareds, I know I've seen some in catalogs for less than $1,000, so between $500 to $1,000. That will also depend on the company and that stuff. And thermals, I don't have much knowledge on those. I know there are some out there. I'm not sure what the costs are. They are, all of the three options are a combat multiplier, something that will greatly increase your capabilities and will give you an edge in the battlefield. Now, more modern armies, Western armies, they're going to the standard of every troop has their own set of NVGs or night vision goggles or a night vision scope of some type. So that would be kind of our ultimate goal. Everyone in a militia should have a set, but don't expect your units to get it for you. It's something you're going to have to get yourself. And quite frankly, if you buy it yourself, you're more likely to keep it from getting damaged. You're going to maintain it better. Where if it's issued to you by someone else, they're the ones who ate the costs on it for acquiring it, you know, you're not going to care as much as if it's your own property and that money came out of your pocket. Now we're getting into tax season here. People are going to be getting their income tax refunds and that stuff. And I know this is the time of year when people have the disposable income that they can get a hold of that type of stuff. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video right now. But priorities over who should have night vision or IRs. First up would be your leadership. Let's say your platoon leadership and your squad leadership and your team leaders. Next up, right behind that, I'd say would be your saw gunners, your squad automatic riflemen, and also your SDMs, your squad designated marksmen. Both of them ideally should get a hold of some type of night vision or IR scope. Probably a night vision scope would be preferable because you'll see better. You'll see more detail. Behind that, I would put drivers, which I know in the militia there won't be that many. But if you're in a motorized or mechanized unit, you might want to put your drivers up ahead of even your leadership for priorities for getting night vision devices so that they can drive at night with the lights out on their vehicles. Or you could go the option of creating your own blackout drive. Sort of like what they did in World War II in Korea. They would take 100-mile-an-hour tape and they would cover up the majority of the headlights except for a small slit to give them just a little bit of light up ahead so they could see, but not so much light that it could be picked up by the naked eye from farther away. Another option would be spray paint, also something that would last longer than the 100-mile-an-hour tape. If you do that, if you go that option, also remember you got your tail lights. You're going to want to cover those up also. If you're driving a bigger truck, you'll have your running lights on the side. You might want to just disconnect those or remove the bulbs. And then after you get those 3 main groups of people issued out night vision devices, and their NVGs and IRs and all that stuff, then issue them out to the troops. Now, most likely a lot of militias, they will only get this stuff after the conflict has begun. When they perform ambushes on enemy troops, then they'll capture them. Well, in that case, you have, you know, your little priorities here of who should get them first. Now, if you can get a hold of the stuff, like I said, ideally your leadership should get it first. Your squad leaders, your team leaders, your platoon leaders. If you are able to get a hold of IRs, which is cheaper than night vision for the most part, probably have those at least 1 per squad. The 2 kind of complement each other. The NVGs and NVDs will give you greater detail of what's out in front of you, but they don't see body heat, so they're not going to see someone hiding behind a bush or hiding inside a wooden shack or a shed, where the IRs potentially could, and the thermals would also. So that appears to be something they're going to in the U.S. military, where you have IRs in the squad and then everyone has NVGs, so you got both capabilities. You can switch back and forth. From what I've seen on footage on the IRs, you know, there's not a lot of detail out in front. Not as much as NVGs, but it'll show you what's hiding behind things. It'll come up a different color. So it gives you that little tip off. And that could be something extremely useful for us. The only experience, I'll just put this in here. The only experience I have with night vision devices is what I was issued in the military. I was issued the PVS-4 when I was a saw gunner. And when I became a team leader, a driver, squad leader, and so forth, I carried the PVS-7 Bravos, the PVS-7 Deltas, and then later the PVS-14s. My personal preference was the PVS-7 series. They just worked a little better. I could put them on my headset and wear them as we were walking around patrolling at night. When we got issued the PVS-14s, we were not issued the correct headsets with them, and it was just a pain in the butt. So a lot of us, all we did was we would just pull them up, scan what's ahead of us, turn them back off, let them hang from our neck, and we kept walking forward and then scanned farther ahead again. I'm sure infantry were issued the correct headsets right away. I know engineers, we were not. So I do want to say, do not get the old Russian or Soviet night vision devices, night vision goggles. I do remember when those started appearing on the markets back in the 90s, and every catalog, I remember seeing them in the description, they had in there in big bold letters a message that said, do not attempt to use these because they will cause cancer. There was something about them internally, the radioactive isotopes they were using in there, that the shielding on it was not that good, and it was figured that they would cause cancer. So everyone that sold them back then had that warning. So if you come across that older stuff, don't get it. I'll give this another recommendation on this. If you get a hold of this stuff, try to get devices that use the same batteries as, say, your radios. So that way you only have to carry around one type of battery. If everything is, you know, double A's, well then all you got to carry around with you is double A's. If everything is triple A's, then all you have to do is carry around triple A's. It's a lot easier than carrying around multiple types of batteries. As it is, I'm sure a lot of us will be carrying around D-cell batteries for flashlights, you know, probably a AA for our radios, and whatever else as is currently. But try to get all your electronic equipment somewhat standardized. It'll make it easier for you logistically. And it'll also cut down the weight that you have to carry when you're out on missions. So, hopefully I'm giving you somewhat of an idea. As for locations of where to get it, look around. That's about all I can say. I've heard of one company that I know advertises and stuff with Liberty Tree Radio. It was ydtoe.us. Don Betcher, I guess, is the guy that owns the company, runs the company. He's been involved with the militia for decades. If you give him a call, he's willing to work deals, give you a greater discount than what is posted on his website. I know your bigger surplus places, catalog places, they'll have them. But as for price, I can't say for certain. Keep in mind with the night vision especially, I do know with those that every few years they have to get purged, which means they have to go into an approved maintenance facility. They will drain the gas from the night vision device along with any air that seeped inside it over time, and then they will refill them with brand new inert gas. If you don't do it, I have heard that the resolution, your picture, starts to get fuzzier and fuzzier until it's just a completely indistinguishable blob out in front of you. So keep that in mind. Something else that I've heard is the old PVS 5s. These are the ones that almost look like welding goggles. Those take a special type of battery that you're not going to find on the market easily. So there's probably a reason you're going to find them cheap. And a warning on cheap night vision devices. If you're looking around, you're finding everyone is selling them for between that $1,200 to $1,500. You come across a pair that's $500. Well, one of two things is probably wrong with that set. One, it doesn't work. Or two, it was stolen. And then when you send it in to get purged, do some work on it and stuff, the company will do a search on the serial number. It'll come up as being stolen, and then the cops will show up at your doors and arrest you. So just keep that in mind. If anyone has a good source or recommendations on this stuff, put it in the description. I'd like to see it. I know I'm going to be in the market for trying to get a hold of something this year if my tax refund will be big enough. So any recommendations? You know, a particular retailer, particular model, whatever. And if it's a particular model, what are your reasons for why you recommend it and stuff? Not just because, well, this is what I heard of. You know, if you've used it, what is it you liked about it? And also tell me what don't you like about it. You know, a lot of people will be watching this video over time. We need to help each other out, you know, give each other suggestions and so forth. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and Militia movements, always remember, ne séance.